afternoon, everyone. It's so nice to have this intimate group of people here. I like this setting. It's not, it's formal enough, and yet I feel as though this is like a chamber music type of setting. I feel really close to the audience. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sergey Martinchuk, and I teach piano here at Claremont Graduate University. A few things about the program itself. I'm going to start off with 4 etudes by Leopold Godowsky. If you've taken a piano literature class, then you already know about the etude genre, but if you haven't taken it, let me just say that the etude genre probably originated at the end of the classical, beginning of the Romantic era. And what was happening is that as the piano music was getting more and more complex, there was a need to write some kind of exercises on the piano to improve a specific type of technique for students. So early etude composers, such as Karl Czerny and Kramer, they wrote scores and scores of etudes, and each etude would focus on a specific piano technique, such as octaves, or arpeggios, or scales. And so teachers would assign those etudes to their students, and they would work on a particular etude with the hope of improving a certain technique. But that's all that they were, those early etudes. They were just technical exercises. Nobody really played them on concert stage because musically they weren't very satisfying. It wasn't until Chopin and later composers that actually Chopin popularized etude. And what he had done is that in addition to etude being a technical exercise, it also became a piece of music which contained musical ideas, and it was pleasing to the ear. And so since Chopin, just about every composer, Liszt, Rachmaninoff, Stravinsky wrote some etudes. Even in the 20th century, composers such as Ligeti, William Bolcom wrote a bunch of etudes. And these etudes are really pieces of music. They can be called poems, not just etudes. There's plenty of technical challenges, to be sure, but they go far beyond that, and they're musically satisfying pieces. And so Godowsky, what he had done with these particular etudes is that he took etudes by Chopin, which are already technically challenging, and he had reduced them for one hand. So if you can imagine taking all that material and compressing it into one hand, while at the same time, of course, preserving the musicality and the beauty of these pieces. So I'll start off with 4 etudes, and then I'll talk about the Paganini Caprices later on. Is everyone with me so far? Okay, regarding the Paganini Caprices, they were originally written for the violin, and then I wanted to transcribe them for the piano. And so what I did, I transcribed for the left hand. And of course, there's a couple of challenges in taking a piece that's written for the violin and writing it for the piano. The first challenge is the challenge of register, because on the violin, the lowest note is the G below the middle C. That's the lowest note, right? And also, the violin sounds very rich throughout its upper register, whereas on the piano, the higher you go, the less rich the tone becomes. It becomes more kind of nasal and kind of dinky, if you will. And so what I've done with these four is I sometimes I would put it down an octave or down 2 octaves or down even 3 octaves, depending on where the music was going. Because on the piano, the richest register is middle to the lower register. So you have to utilize the potential of the keyboard, right? If I just transcribe it note for note, it's going to sound like some silly cartoons or something. And so first one, like I said, was to get the right register. And the second challenge is that on the violin, the keyboard, not the keyboard, I should say the fingerboard. There's no keyboard on the violin, just to clarify that. The fingerboard is, okay, the fingerboard is only about this long, right? So when you have rolled chords, even though it's a challenge, the longest stretch would be, something like this. So it's still doable. I mean, it's hard, but it's doable. Whereas on the piano, if you've got rolled chords that are longer than 2 octaves or 3 octaves, I mean, it's still doable. But if you're going at allegro vivace or some crazy tempo, then there's no time to execute the chord and get back and to do what you're supposed to do. So several times I simply condensed it into 1 octave instead of rolling the chord over like 2 or 3 octaves. So I kind of squished it all in. Other times I actually added notes because, again, the violin sounds rich in the upper register and the piano doesn't. So a few times I put in extra notes just to kind of get that richness of sound. And so you can find the original Caprices in the music store, but you will not find the left-handed transcription because it's my own. So hopefully I can publish it someday, but we'll see about that. Oh, one other thing I have to say is that these pieces are brand new to me, and I think Robert Zapula is the only human being who can play like a new concert every 2 weeks. So, but the rest of us mortal people, it takes a long time to learn something. So I've been working on these for maybe 6 to 8 months, but I still consider it brand new. called Sick Doll by Peter Tchaikovsky. And this was one of the first pieces that I ever learned as a child in the Ukraine. Now, if you can imagine a little boy learning how to play piano, I would rather go play soccer than play piano, let alone play a piece called The Sick Doll. I hated that. I couldn't stand that piece. But over the years, I've learned to like this piece, title notwithstanding, because it's so simple technically, but musically it's a jewel. I mean, that's what Tchaikovsky's a master of. He can write something simple yet profound, and every time I play it, I feel like I can bend it and I can, twist it any way I like to. I can play it a little louder, a little softer, a little faster, a little slower. Every time I play, I can just sit down and play anytime I want to play it. So this is a piece by Tchaikovsky called Sick Doll.